welcome to another episode. This is going to be one of those, we've done it before, where I want to go through some leadership stuff and like everyone listen and watch and put on your leader hat. Here's the diving board we're going to jump off of.
I don't like diving boards, but.
This is the high dive.
No, thank you. Have a nice day.
The undisciplined leader. The undisciplined leader. Some folks will say, I am not undisciplined, and some folks will say, I am completely undisciplined. So I thought, let's talk about what does an undisciplined leader look like? What are attributes about that person? And so we're going to do an analysis. I'm not going to actually do it. I'm going to read through the analysis that was done.
Okay.
That are there warning signs for you and I to know that we've become not just a leader, we've become an undisciplined one. And can you change that? So, Hoops Hype, which I know you're not familiar with.
I don't know.
Did a leadership article based on Shaquille O'Neal.
Wait,
Shaq.
help me know what it is. I need to know what it is before I understand what they did. Are they like I know that Shaq played in the NBA. So is that like an NBA magazine or is it a think tank?
Yeah, Hoops Hype is the
what
the clue.
What? No, I said I know it's an NBA thing, my love.
No, not just NBA. But yes.
Okay. What are they though? Are they a research firm? Are they a magazine?
Magazine.
Thank you.
Basically.
That's all. I just wanted to know who was giving me the information.
Okay. They did a leadership article on Shaquille O'Neal's life.
Ugh.
If you don't know who Shaquille O'Neal is, considered one of the best centers to have played basketball.
Very tall.
Very, very tall. Changed the game of sorts because he not only was in the NBA as a tall guy, but he wasn't known just for his height. He was known for his strength. He was a big dude. When you think of the word giant, Shaq comes to mind because he's tall, but he's wide as well and strong. He's
got a lot of charisma too. He's just always been funny and fun. That's how I knew him when I was a kid because I was like, ooh, you're fun.
So if you didn't follow basketball way back then, which a lot of people may not have followed basketball.
I used to
way back
collect
then.
basketball cards.
What was well known about Shaq is that Shaq was an undisciplined basketball player. And I will actually tell you, we're not tattling on Shaq. We're not talking bad about Shaq. Shaq has actually addressed this and talked about this quite a bit. How while he was a basketball player, he was incredibly undisciplined and basically relied on his skill set that he was born with and just how God made him.
His
big
sheer
and strong,
size,
right? So he talks about this.
Okay.
And that's why I think the article was able to be done because it was a bit in connection with him and cooperation.
Yep.
So here's what they said about Shaq while he was dominating basketball, but not dominating it as much as he should have.
Okay.
Here are the habits we can learn from one of the most physically dominated, yet underachieving athletes ever in basketball.
Underachieving, huh?
Yeah.
Interesting.
1, when Shaq played basketball, did not respect authority. Throughout his career, and it's kind of funny to laugh, throughout his career, he only respected one coach, Phil Jackson. Think about that. Think about all the coaches he had.
Why would he have done that?
Well, he talked about is he would regularly come across a coach that he had a difference of opinion about. And when the difference of opinion occurred, Shaq didn't just say, well, we're just going to have to agree to disagree. You're in charge. I'm not the coach. Shaq just tuned him out.
So he started with the Orlando Magic, right? So Phil Jackson would have been with the Lakers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good job.
And he used to be the Bulls coach, right?
Yeah.
I told you I loved NBA when I was growing up. I don't anymore.
Yeah. So, but I think it's just something for someone to think about right now. We're not going to belabor this fact, but if you're how do you know if you're an undisciplined leader? Is your problem always with those in charge of you?
Yeah. You think you can do it better?
Yep. Is who's
like
in charge of you?
Yeah.
Always your problem, or can you only find one good person in your life that has ever been in charge of you well? And likely it's because that person just never said no to you and you just always says yes, and so you thought they're fantastic. So, do you respect authority? If your problem is always with those in charge of you, the answer is probably not. Number 2, regarding Shaq's life. He neglected the little things. Shaquille O'Neal was known on his style of playing basketball. He never enjoyed setting what's called ball screens or defending the pick and roll, which would mean there's plays in basketball where you don't get the ball. You have to go help someone else score. You're not going to score.
Yeah.
Shaquille.
I did that a lot. I played basketball.
Shaquille didn't want to do that. He didn't like the idea.
He liked the glory.
He just didn't like the idea of the little thing, like setting a pick on someone, and then having to roll. And there's details in that. There's these little things that you do.
Well, if you can dunk over everybody, why waste your time on that?
You're thinking just like Shaq. And,
well, no, that's what I'm saying. He was probably thinking is.
Yeah, and so in an undisciplined way, he was like, the little things don't matter because I know what to do.
Yep.
But neglecting the little things. So when you think about just regular world customer service, cleanliness, they say
organization.
Organization stuff. They say that the bathroom in a store is the number one reason people return or not.
I understand that.
Yeah. So little things though, that's a small detail. You're thinking, wait a minute, I didn't start this business to make sure that people could have a clean bathroom. I started this business to sell this product or to do this thing. Or if you're a dentist, I started this business to fix people's teeth, not for them to have this amazing experience in the bathroom. However, it's a small thing that it turns out to be a big thing.
It's honor.
So Shaq did not respect authority. He neglected the little things. Another thing about Shaq, he damaged relationships with other high performers. He struggled when there were people around him who were also high achievers, who did well, who also deserved to be shooting, guarding, having articles written about him and all that kind of stuff. In fact, his destructive relationship with Kobe Bryant is legendary.
Yes.
That came about when Kobe Bryant tragically died in that helicopter crash, right? Or was it a plane crash? And that brought again to light that it was going to be interesting with Shaq and grieving, obviously someone he had spent a lot of time with, but what was detailed throughout their career and post the career that they couldn't get along, and it appeared to mostly be this undisciplined leader we know as Shaq, where Kobe was a threat.
And very disciplined in terms of basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the unfortunate things about Shaq, one of the legacies he's going to leave, unfortunately, is that he'll have left broken relationships in his wake.
Yep.
As he went about accomplishing things. And like most people ever watch basketball, like, man, you're so good. You were so good. But undisciplined in the sense of just didn't seem to be okay with people around him that were thriving. And that's a question I think we should all ask ourselves. What happens when someone around you gets credit, justifiably so, achieves and accomplishes and wins? If you can't celebrate other people's wins authentically, I'm not saying fake it, authentically, you probably lack some discipline that you need to address. 4, Shaq misused margin time. The practice habits, the margin time, the outside of the games, the stage. Shaq was known as not a very good guy to practice with. So that hey, let's get better. Let's work on this one play.
The goals weren't the same, for sure. Yeah.
Let's just fine tune some things. This extra time, he would create conflict. He wouldn't work as hard. There would be some things that he didn't want to do while everyone else was doing it. And so he would misuse that time. And I think that's common in the workplace. They say that in the workplace that most businesses have, they're trying to figure out, you're not getting 100% out of your teammate, that there's this marginal time they're misusing. We see it all over, everywhere, every part of life, our margin time, what we do with it, how we utilize it. You will find if you're disciplined or undisciplined on what you do with your margin time.
100%.
You're not super on the clock. Everyone's watching time the other time.
Well, I think most people in our culture today are procrastinators too. And so that that even perpetuates that misuse of time, because they're relying on their natural giftedness, but not trying to even get better or steward it in a way that develops it even more. Which is just really laziness. But
yeah. So here's an interesting thing. The fifth thing, the interesting thing here, unreliability. That was another one for Shaq. He was considered unreliable. So one, because he misused his marginal time, often led to unnecessary injuries because he wasn't really taking care of himself like he should. And so statistically, 11 out of 18 seasons, which you mathematicians, that's over half of his career, he sat out almost 20% of those games, each of those seasons, because of injuries that he could have prevented.
Which is regular movement and stretching and activating those, for sure.
So he unreliable, even in the sense of, he was a horrible foul shooter. So when in basketball, if you don't know this, when you get fouled, you shoot free throws. And I'm laughing because it just was story after story of, can Shaq hit a free throw?
Which is like the most fundamental. Titus is in 4th grade and has been playing for years now, and that's like the number one thing.
Well, it's called a free throw. But he was considered incredibly unreliable in a part of basketball that's supposed to be one of the most reliable parts of it.
Fundamental.
And so, in fact, so much so that he changed the game of basketball because of it. If you watch basketball now, there's actually a technique that a team will utilize. If they need the clock to stop so they can score more points, they will begin to foul the worst foul shooter in order to get advantage. That started with primarily learning that teams would start to foul Shaq with like 4 or 5 minutes to go.
So then you become a liability even.
Yep.
Oh.
So how does this apply to you? Your health, emotionally, physically, spiritually, will determine your reliability. And you're an undisciplined leader if you're not paying attention to your health, because that means you're not paying attention to your reliability. A sixth one, lack of boundaries.
Yep.
Apparently, Shaq struggled with boundaries. He was known for his bad eating habits. He was known for his infidelity. He was known for his bad spending habits. He was known for his bad use of time. How unfortunate is it that he's just so well known for this? Even though he's a Hall of Famer, kind of like amazing.
He's on almost every commercial that I ever see.
Yeah.
But he's known for this.
Right. But and this was more in his playing career.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's known to have out of control temper. And I think when you're looking at how am I leading the people around me, one of the ways to go about that is to say, how am I doing with boundaries?
Yeah.
Like am I overindulging? Am I overspeaking? Am I overusing? Whatever it is, but it's something worth looking at. Lack of boundaries. Undisciplined leaders have areas in their life that they often can get a picture of, oh no, I'm way out of bounds there. A seventh one, lack of focus. That kind of is a part of, when I was reading the article, I was like, well, that kind of spells out a lot of this other stuff. But to give you some more color, the reason the article put it out was Shaq did movies, music. He did rap.
I don't remember that.
Yes, he did.
Was he in that movie with Michael Jordan and all of the cartoon characters?
He might have been. I forget.
Space Jam. Here's your chance. Do your dance.
Yeah, he was in a reality show.
Space Jam.
So just throughout his career, his team could regularly not count on him regularly. Lack of focus. When you look at what you're involved in right now, are you overextended? Did you sign up for too much? Did you say yes to too much? Sometimes you have to say no to wonderful things, great opportunities. And the purpose is so that you can stay focused on what you need to do. A good book, if you don't know what that means, read Good to Great.
It's a good book.
Number 8, commitment. One question we have for Shaq. Why did Shaq the most dominant player of his era play on 6 teams?
Because nobody wanted him.
Not necessarily.
But everybody wanted him.
Yeah. And so we wondered about his commitment. It was consistently called into question where commitment, and what was he committed to? Was it a person? Was it a championship? And when you look at your loyalty, are you constantly changing jobs, constantly changing careers?
Friendships?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That can reveal
even restaurants, churches. I pay attention to that with people that I know. Is wow, you're moving on really fast, or
when you're constantly changing, or just hopping, it's a sign that you're an undisciplined person.
Yeah.
9, we're going to do 10. 9, dysfunctional personal life. His home life was well documented, and just dysfunctional.
Mm-hmm.
And I think oftentimes it's like, are you undisciplined? You're like, no, work's great, doing great at work.
Yeah,
I'm exercising, I'm doing all this. This is all my. Yeah, but what about home life?
Right.
Like, are you compromising the only legacy that you actually have? Yeah. Those core relationships.
Oh, yeah.
The 10th one, satisfaction. He seemed to be incredibly satisfied with like a certain level that he shouldn't have been satisfied with. Mm-hmm. And you're undisciplined if where you've just decided to attach a lid that didn't have to be there.
Yeah. Good enough. It's good enough.
Unknowingly, in essence, deciding, that's enough. So are these 10 habits that you're struggling with? Are these things that you're, and I think just you can go and review on this. I want to turn the page a bit and not try to convict anybody, but I want to take you to Scripture. And as you're beginning, because this is the point of this whole talk is this podcast, the Undisciplined Leader. Mark chapter 5. What's following Jesus costing you? Let's turn the page. Mm-hmm. And let's talk about your relationship with Jesus. How undisciplined is that? Mm-hmm. What's following Jesus costing you? When Mark 5:15-17, when they came to Jesus, they saw a man who had been possessed by the legion of demons sitting there dressed in his right mind, and were afraid. Jesus has healed this guy. He's cast demons out. Those who had seen it told the people what had happened to the demon-possessed man, and told about the pigs as well. When the people began to plead with Jesus, then the people began to plead with Jesus to leave the region. If you don't know the story, Jesus has freed this man from demons. Mm-hmm. And the details that I've left out here on purpose is that Jesus opted to send those demons into a bunch of pigs. Mm-hmm. Farmers own these pigs. Mm-hmm. And what happens is the people do not celebrate that this man has been freed of demons. Mm-hmm. They lament that they've lost their pigs, mm-hmm. their financial income, their source of all that kind of stuff. And I think it's a good illustration that sometimes we don't celebrate what should be celebrated. Instead, we lament what we shouldn't be lamenting. Yeah. Because
it's what
it costs
our priorities
us something.
Are our goal. Yeah.
Because it costs us something.
Yeah.
It literally, maybe financially, maybe relationally, mm-hmm. emotionally, it cost us something. And I think in the world of are you disciplined or not, mm-hmm. regarding God, one of the main areas of our lack of discipline with God is we've tried to remove the need to sacrifice mm-hmm. or take losses. And I would say that as a pastor speaking, is you will become incredibly undisciplined in your relationship with God. It will become very self-serving, treating him like a genie or a vending machine, or just like he exists only for you. Mm-hmm. If you've removed that, cost should ever happen. Here's what Jesus said to potential followers of his, Matthew 19:21, sell everything you have and give it to the poor. Said that to a filthy rich guy. Luke 14:26-27. Be willing to never see your family again. Be ready to die. I mean, that's stuff that nowadays is like, you wouldn't ask me to do that.
Do you know what I love about both of those, though, is that he's going to each one of us has different idols. Let's just call them idols or things that we need. Because for some people, they're so desperate for success that they will not be great with other people that have successes because they're longing for that for themselves. Jesus goes right to, that was what was getting in the way of that rich young ruler's relationship with the Lord, was money.
For sure.
And so, but that's what I love about the way that Jesus operated, was he went right to the heart of it. And we need to do like a self audit of what is standing in the way of me following the Lord like I should. And also just being a good, like Shaq was a terrible teammate.
Right.
But they won games. But what was getting in the way? I love that.
Yeah, it's a thing with way society works is Shaq Hall of Famer, world champion. So we're like, you're successful. You did it. You got it.
Yeah.
However, what he knows is he didn't actually do all that he was capable of doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think, sure, are you saved? Are you going to heaven? Cool. Do you know the basics about God? Sweet. But what if God wants more? Because he knows the relationship could thrive.
Yes.
And I think, so it's undisciplined if you have halted that relationship. If you've said, I'm only going to this line, I'm not passing that line. Yeah. I made a list once of the disciples. I'm just going to go through this list. And I'm not trying to be over dramatic. But
does that mean you're going to sound over dramatic?
Yes.
Is that what you said?
Jesus gathered 12 disciples. Come follow me and I'll make you fishers of men. Invited them into the most game-changing moment in history. 3.5 years of following God in person. And who wouldn't take that, right? Yeah. In fact, we also know that other people just begin following. They're like, yeah, let's do this. But these 12, he invited in, and that seems like, that's awesome. Do that. Go for that. Yeah. So here's what happened. Here's what it cost them. Andrew, he was crucified. He was bound, not nailed to a cross, put on a cross. Bartholomew, beheaded or whipped and crucified, head facing downward. James, the elder James, beheaded or stabbed with a sword. We're not sure.
Interesting.
Either one, I don't want. James, the younger one, thrown from the top of the temple, then stoned and beaten with clubs. John, boiled in oil, but survived it. And so they didn't know what to do with him, so he was exiled to prison. And then eventually, as he was about to die, they sent him home, and he died at home. Jude, or Thaddeus, beaten to death. Judas committed suicide. Matthew, he was either burned, stoned, or beheaded. We're not sure. Peter, crucifixion in Rome with his head downwards. Philip, we don't know how he died. Simon, crucifixion or being sawn in half. There's two different accounts.
It's fascinating. So I'm a history teacher by trade, and I love history, but that's the perplexing, frustrating part is they died, and we know the reason that they died, but history just...
They say so, and so just so you know,
there's so much drama surrounding it all.
Many historians, because of so much drama surrounding these individuals, that lies begin to get spread, and also they tried to squash out some of the history.
Well, right, because it looked poorly on the people that were doing the killing. Yeah. But what cannot be denied is the reason why.
Yeah.
Because of the way that they lived their lives for the Lord.
Thomas, the last one, stabbed with a spear. What I'm drawing attention to, all of them decided to follow Jesus. All of them had different connotations of what that might be. But I feel like led by the Lord to remind us all that we will be undisciplined in our relationship with God the moment we say it can't cost me that.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
Yeah.
What is following Jesus costing you right now? You can use this stuff with Shaq about your business or your whatever stuff. But my point was to bring you to this moment. I don't want people saying about me, and I don't want them saying about you what they say about Shaq. He was good. She was good, but could have been a whole lot better. But wasn't willing to take on the cost.
And all of it for the glory of the Lord.
Yeah.
Everything that we do over and over again in Scripture, we're reminded that every single thing we do is for the glory of the Lord.
Heed these warning signs. Don't be a person who's unwilling to take on the cost that God leads you into because it's just worth it. I'm just telling you, it's just worth it. And having a thriving relationship with Him is worth whatever that will cost you.
Yeah.
Hope that helps you get off the fence if you were on the fence about that. Some of us do that. The cost has us perch ourselves right back up on the fence.
Safety.
Yep. Well, thanks for listening. It kind of seemed heavy, ending with, here's how they all died.
I love that we talk about it, though, because it's the reality that we often, I think we walk through the New Testament and then go, man, I bet those guys just lived out life just preaching and teaching and having everybody love them. No, ministry doesn't look like that either. That's what I thought. Oh gosh, we're gonna be in ministry and everybody's gonna love us. Well, no, because life is hard and following the Lord can be hard. But I love that we talk about it because one, we praise the Lord for their faith and their sacrifice in order to get the gospel to us.
Yeah. Yeah. We were talking. You and I were talking about retirement because someone else was talking about retirement. So it was interesting that the calling that I specifically feel in my life. When will I stop preaching? My current plan, when I die.
But in what capacity? That might change.
Sure. Opportunities will change.
Yeah.
But the current plan is not at the age of whatever.
We're not just going to go sit at an ocean somewhere.
No.
Our heart is we might do that once in a while.
In between sermons.
Right. But to go be with people and share and show them who Jesus is.
When will I stop showing people who Jesus is? I think when I don't know that I'll try not to even make that choice.
Yeah.
I just will. And then I'll find myself hopefully in His presence, recognizing,
but living life in a way too, and I don't want to get all cheesy, but living life in a way too, that even after death, what God did through you for the kingdom is still resonating in people's lives and hearts. Yeah. The impact. Yeah.
Well, I hope this might, for those of you who have been processing, is following Jesus worth it? It is.
Yes.
It's also difficult, but I'll go back to it's worth it.
Yeah.
We love you very much until we get to chat with you next time.
Bye, friends. I need to stop doing that, David. I'm 41.